Welcome to What Resonates. This podcast is about tuning into energy, intuition, and what feels true for you. Each conversation invites you to notice what sparks curiosity and feels aligned, opening a wider field of possibility for yourself and for humanity. Keep tuning in and follow what resonates. Hi there, it's Andrea. And in addition to my online live Reiki classes, I've added some in person options that I want to tell you about. In April, I'll be teaching in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and this June in the United Kingdom. Head over to my website and find out why these in person classes are special. An expanded format in Reiki 1 and 2 you're not going to want to miss. There's a banner at the top of the webpage for you to make it easy. Just click on over to mainstreamreiki.com. Welcome to What Resonates. I have Garz Chan here in the studio, and I'm so excited to introduce you to the Karma Lady. And she demonstrates telekinesis, spoon bending. She offers light language for healing, life lessons, and more to an audience of over 230,000 followers on Instagram alone. Gars has trained in more than 20 modalities. She's been offering private sessions for healing for over a decade. She's the author of 3 children's books designed to help young people stay connected to their magic. And if you can't tell, I am super excited because I have been mildly stalking Gars online. I will say I am fascinated with her work, and I just really can't wait to talk with her and see where the conversation leads. Welcome, Gars. It's great to have you. Thanks for saying yes.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. My pleasure.
Oh, yeah, I'm super excited, as I already said, but you have really, I don't know, interested me in a way because you're so out there with some really incredible and fascinating ways to demonstrate personal ability, personal power, energy. And I think it's an invitation for all of us to be super curious, because if we can see you doing that, oh my gosh, can we do that too? And specifically, what I think first stopped me was spoon bending that you do online. I think I was just kind of scrolling along one day and I saw you do that. And it's always been an interest to me. But you know, how do you do that? I'd love to hear more about something like that. But then I want to go deeper with you too, and ask you some other types of questions about your work in the world today, and how we're navigating through it. I know that you can offer some very grounded insight for us,
Mm.
for our audience. So again, thanks for being here. But spoon bending, can we start there?
Yeah, sure. The spoon bending video is the video that I posted that went viral. And I think it had like over 2.5 million views on Instagram. And that's when I started getting a lot of followers. Before then, I was just posting energy healing stuff, and I was in my own little energy healing bubble with the energy healing kind of crowd, and it was kind of warm and fuzzy, and everyone's really lovely and kind and positive and encouraging. And then I kept getting the message. It was not winter just gone, but the winter before, I kept getting the message, you need to be more visible. You need to get more comfortable being visible. And I was like, I don't want to be more visible. I don't think I can handle the criticism. I don't think I can handle, the potential hatred and negativity. And I follow Charlie Goldsmith, who is an Australian healer. And sometimes, when I'm looking at his comments, some people are so incredibly obnoxious and rude. I'm like, oof, I don't think I can handle that. Although, my advice to him is don't listen to them, ignore them, just do your thing. I appreciate your existence. I love that you're out there like this. And then I kept getting the message, you need to. get comfortable being more visible. And then I started cringing, right? Going, oh, no, I don't think I can handle that kind of pressure and that kind of attention. Uh, and I don't know what possessed me to bend the spoon on a video and post it, but that's when it just blew up. And then I went from having 86,000 followers to over 230,000 followers, yeah, in just the last year. And with that comes a lot of great people who are very curious, who want to learn, and a fair amount of what we call haters who are very skeptical, who are very critical, who are rude and obnoxious and start calling you things like a charlatan or you're evil or you're doing the devil's work or how can you sleep at night because you're scamming people. And I had to go through a process of blocking a lot of people and going into my filters and putting words in to prevent people from coming into my page and flooding it with negativity. And then obviously the people who have followed me would jump on them and then they'd get into an argument. And I thought, I want my page to be really clean, just like my house. I want it to be clean, just like my car. I want it to be clean, just like my body. I want it to be clean, So that was a learning curve for me. But bending the spoon, there are lots of different ways you can bend the spoon. You can look at it and you can see it melting. You just imagine it melting like butter or like it's full of volcanic lava or whatever resonates with you. It could be fire, right? It could be, you can imagine that you have stoked it in the fire for a long time and you're about to bend it. So then you can just bend it, or you can just tell it to bend, will it to bend, keep telling it to bend, 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 bend. And as you speak it into the spoon, you speak it into existence, you bend the spoon. Or you can feel unconditional love or love for someone or a pet or someone, it could be trees or whatever, an animal, your child, your loved one, and then you project that love onto the spoon, and then you can bend it because love can melt the spoon. The other one that I like to do that works for me is I just say, I am the universe is me. I am the universe is me. So there's no difference between me and the spoon, and then I bend it, right? And another thing you can do is you can just imagine a photo of a bent spoon. You take that image and superimpose it onto the spoon, right? Just mentally, and then just bend the spoon. So there's lots of different ways, but those are a few ways to bend the spoon.
Yeah. What strikes me to hear you describe that is that there's no one way, that there are many ways to do that. And are you using energy besides that? What's my question here? I've seen you spin foil, what is that called? That
Telekinesis.
telekinesis. So I've seen you do that, and you sometimes use your hand, but you don't have to. Is all of this mental, except I guess for spoon bending, you have to use your hands to actually turn the spoon, but I don't know. Is it
Yeah.
all mental?
Well, there are people who can bend the spoon without using their hands, but I'm just a beginner, so I use my hands. And the telekinesis, aerokinesis, I've only been practicing it for 11 months. And I just started with pyrokinesis, which is fire. Aerokinesis is with wind.
Wind.
And telekinesis is moving objects with your mind. To begin with telekinesis, you create a psi wheel, psi wheel. So you can take a box or a candle or anything as a base, and you stick a needle in it or a toothpick, and then you take a little square piece of foil or paper, but foil is the lightest. So if you're a beginner, you might want to begin with foil, and you just fold it in half, create like a little tent, like a little canopy, like an umbrella. You place the foil on top of the needle. Now, to begin with, you might want to infuse the foil or the energy around the foil, the space around the foil with your energy. But it all is also important that mentally you are locked in and you are focused on your intention. So there is a lot of mental focus and intention involved, but it's also energetic for me.
Ah, well, these are all quite interesting. So there was spoon bending that you talked about, telekinesis, aerokinesis. And so what is that exactly?
Aerokinesis is moving the air or the wind. I started with a pinwheel, like a wheel spinner that you just put into the ground.
Oh, like one of the little toys,
Yeah,
that,
you know
yeah.
those things that you stick into the ground? It has all these little, it looks like a little fan almost,
Uh-huh.
and then it
Yes.
just spins right and
Mhm.
left. It's
Mhm.
They call it a pinwheel or a wheel spinner, depending on what country you're in. And you can get them made out of plastic or cloth or metal. And I've tried all three. And I would practice sitting outside in the garden with the pinwheel. And for me, everyone does it differently. But for me, what works for me is I imagine I am the wind. And so I'll make movements like I'll swipe my hand up, and that to me means that the wind is gaining strength and momentum. It's going to get windy. And then when I put my hands down like this, it means calm down, slow down, stop. And then you move on to moving the pinwheel to the right or to the left. And for me, that's mental instructions. And I connect with the pinwheel and talk to it like it's like a puppy that I'm training, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what works for me. And then you can move on to moving shrubs and bushes and trees. And then you can make the trees kind of like dance in the wind, or you can make it really calm around the trees. Now, with the trees, not every tree is going to want to dance with you. Not every tree is going to want to play. So it's important before I even approach a tree, I always say, "Hi, how are you?" And I wait for it to respond. Some trees are shy and they're slow to respond, and you'll feel it just like people. And some trees want to be left alone. So I just move on. But some trees are very playful and they're very eager and they're very open, and you will feel it straight away, just like people. Every tree has their own personality and they will let you know if they are open to interacting with you. And then I start moving like the wind and see how receptive it is. And the playful ones, the ones that are really open and eager and enthusiastic, they will move a lot when you are moving. And you don't have to touch them. You just imagine as you move your hand up that you are moving wind through their leaves and branches. And yeah, you can just go from there. And you can also practice when you're inside the house and you look out of the window. You can instruct the pinwheel or the tree to move.
Wow. Okay, so this is so fascinating to me. Um, my first question, though, about because I've got about 5 or 6, but my first question, Gars, is there something that you're working on now? Because you said you started with the spoon bending, and then you moved to other, um, practices like this,
Yes.
right? Is there something that you're have your sights on next? Something that you're working on?
Yeah. I just started, even though I haven't mastered the foil yet. Um, you really should just master every step before you move on. But I get, sometimes it's good to like mix it up a little bit. Uh, Now, right now, the foil, I can get it to move under a glass bowl, so
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, let me move on and try something else and then come back to it. Really, I want to be able to move the foil in full rotations for about 2 to 3 minutes, not just like
Wow.
6 times, yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, I can also move the foil from the hallway or in the other room, which is good. But like I said, you should master things before you move on. But right now, like actually just today, I started practicing pyrokinesis, and that's with fire. So I light the candle and I collapse the candle light to put it out.
Is the next step lighting it? Do you think you can
Yes,
light it?
I've just been practicing today putting the candle out
Yes.
by what have I been doing? Siphoning the energy, or as I would call it, like snatching the soul. Or I've also been practicing just collapsing the energy or disrupting the energy, which works. And then I guess the next step is to get consistent results with that and then to relight it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. That will Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. What comes after that? Do you know?
Levitation.
Ah! Yes. All right, well, I'm on board with that. Well, so I'm gonna just circle back, for a quick minute. When you were talking about, sharing these kinds of things on social media and then, being open to the criticism and all of that. I mean, I think so many of us can relate to that. I know
Mm,
myself, I can relate to that because I have a YouTube channel with lots of things and, channeling and people can be, not highly conscious, we would say, when they are typing on their phone or their keyboard, and it can be really rough. And so I appreciate you talking about that, but I
mm,
also wanted to highlight something that you said, that you have utilized what the platforms offer to help moderate what gets through and what gets published, for blocked words and things like
mm,
that. And I've done the same on my YouTube channel, for that same reason. And so, if anybody's out there and they want to become more visible, maybe they've had that same kind of guidance that you had talked about you need to put yourself out there, you need to be more visible, because I've heard from people and they have had that, but they cannot overcome the fear of the criticism. So thank you, number 1, for saying that, because I
mm,
think that that's really important. And I think the more people that do it, the more people are perhaps going to be aware that there are tools that you can use to help that. You're just not exposing yourself and making yourself vulnerable with no guardrails at all. But also, I would say for myself, it's been such a learning experience for me personally to have to navigate some of that friction, and what's out there. So some good can come out of it. Personally, some healing and growth. Would you agree with that, Gars?
It is very stretchy. I'll say that to begin with is very stretchy because I was responding. I'd spend like 10 hours a day responding to comments, and
Oh,
my son, who's 19, just turned 19, he said, why are you doing that? That's like another full-time job that you have. And I said, if people are going to spend a minute out their day commenting on my post, then it's only right that I respond to them and acknowledge them. But then I had to go through all the negative stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And my son said to me, just leave all the negative stuff. It's good for your algorithm. It brings more people. If people start fighting on your page, it brings more people to your page. And I said, no, I don't. That's not what I want. And he said to me, the universe is using this to help you level up, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Because at one point it was so intense. Like I said, I was spending up to 10 hours a day responding to comments on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And then I opened up my DMs once and there were like over 300 DMs and I just wanted to cry. So I switched off my DMs and put all these filter words in to block all these people. And now it's a lot more manageable, but I almost gave up. I just thought I'm not equipped to deal with this because I am so sensitive and I can feel everything. And yes, I have a part of me that's have this like warrior spirit, and I push through a lot of things, and I'm always pushing through my fear and kind of like going over hurdles, or little bumps in the road. But at the same time, I can just feel everything all the time. So it's like, okay, I'm not being protected in this process. So I need to figure out what I can do to, because I'm not the person who's immune to someone being cruel.
Right.
Even people being cruel to others, I'm not immune to it. I'm not that person who can just switch off and go, oh well, I live in my beautiful spiritual bubble and life is good in my bubble and who cares, right? I'm just not that person. So it has been a quite intense learning curve, and I'm still finding myself navigating through that. But I will say that so many people messaged me and said, look at the spoon, I bent the spoon, and me and my daughter bent the spoon. And I said, oh, great, that's amazing, please post. And they go, no, I can't post. I can't handle the hatred and the criticism, and same thing. So I hear, them echoing what I'm saying, and they don't feel safe to post
Yeah.
up there. And I can't tell you to feel safe. I can't tell you to feel protected. I can't tell you nothing bad will happen. Ultimately that's up to you. But it makes me, it's like I get even more like empowered or inspired to encourage everyone to flood social media with these things, because I think this should be the norm. Our ability to heal ourselves and each other should be the norm. Bending spoons should be the norm. Moving a piece of foil should be the norm. Interacting with trees, levitation, this should be the norm. And if anything, I don't care about people saying, aren't you afraid of being crazy? Aren't you afraid of looking crazy? Aren't you afraid of being called crazy? No, that doesn't bother me at all. What I think is crazy is that we have all been raised completely disconnected from our gifts and shut down, and also completely disempowered, not connected to our potential, and constantly outsourcing our power to other people. I think that's crazy. And I also think it's crazy that there are so many horrific, horrible people out there doing horrible, horrific things. That is far more crazy to me than someone who is harnessing their own energy
Right.
to do
Right.
good.
I know, right? Why is I know. But aren't you excited because we're on the precipice of something immense and enormous as far as awakening goes? Do you have that view too, Gars?
Yes, I get really excited when I'm on TikTok and I see these kids my son's age, the generation Gen Z. I get so excited when I see them talking about astral projecting, and they've done no classes, they've read no books, they've seen no teacher, they're just astral projecting willy-nilly, or they're connecting to the spirit realm willy-nilly. They're doing telekinesis, self-taught. I'm just, that gets me excited. I just think, oh, thank God that, these kids are just like, this is what I do, this is who I am. I don't care.
Yes. Yeah, like no apologies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, more mature people, like me and people I know, yeah, we're trying to still overcome a lot of that limited thinking and thinking that we're small and healing, which we haven't really delved into the healing yet. But so these practices that you're sharing online, that is just one element, one thing that you offer, uh, one thing that you bring to the forefront. You're also uh, quite an impactful healer from what I've seen online. You've been sharing even healing sessions, of course, with permission and all of that,
Mhm.
online. And people can check those out to see how you do this. But um, how do you do this, Gars? How do you approach healing with all these different modalities that you offer? What's a healing like? What are you? What's your approach?
Well, at this point, it's a fusion of different modalities and tools depending on the person and their issue, whatever's bothering them. I just drop into the client's energy field and the information just starts lifting or appearing. And sometimes I'll see words in their energy field. Sometimes I see images of traumas that have happened in other lifetimes. Sometimes I'll hear things. Sometimes I'll feel it in my own body. Sometimes, like, I may feel a headache come on and I can taste blood in my mouth. Or sometimes uh, I just know that this person has experienced these things, and as you probably know, that when you've been doing it for a long time, it just becomes like second nature, like driving. You do it every day; it just becomes so natural to you, and whatever I sense in their energy field, the information just keeps coming. I mean, it's there. I'm not having to go look for it or dig for it. I drop into the energy field, all the information is there, and I just start removing things. I will say that I don't ever heal anyone. I just help them heal themselves, or I help their healing process. I guess happen quicker. you know like I see myself as a cleaner, like a janitor. I just go and I'm just cleaning the house.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So whatever is blocking them, or whatever is bothering them, it could be career blockages. They feel like they're not moving ahead, they're not becoming successful. There's some kind of like sabotage there, or a program there, or a loop there. Or it could be relationships. I've helped clear a lot of relationship issues, and people, clients and students get married every month. And health issues, mysterious illnesses, even entities. uh, I've even helped people buy homes or sell homes. Yeah, all kinds of things. It could be trauma, sexual abuse, fears, phobias. Yeah.
So, if you were to look from a higher vantage point at the different practices that you engage in, the healing work that you've talked about, what what do you see as your compass, your direction? What is the role that you are fulfilling?
My title is healer, but I don't heal anyone. I'm
Mhm.
literally just going in there, and some people need a light dusting, and some people need a deep clean, and some people need a renovation.
Right.
And so I just see myself as one of those people. Sometimes I go in there and I just do a little light dusting, and sometimes I do a deep cleaning, and sometimes I do a renovation. Uh, and that's how I see it. I know it's incredibly simple.
Right. Yeah, I know. It does seem really simple. And with the things that you teach, because you actually teach um, a course, don't you,
Yes,
for that is quite comprehensive.
yes.
Can anyone learn these things? And what do you teach in the courses that you teach?
Anyone can learn. Children can take my workshop, like a teenager could take my workshop, and it's very, very simple. But I teach clearing chakras and reading auras, psychometry, which is psychic readings using objects, and I teach psychic mediumship, so speaking to the loved ones who've crossed over into the spirit realm. I teach how to read the Akashic records. The records everything that's ever happened in your life, past, present, future, all lifetimes. I teach removing psychic cords, psychic surgery, entity removal, quantum jumping, neutralizing phobias, light language, clearing karma, any blockages to health, abundance, relationships, meeting a whole bunch of different guides and animal totems, and meeting your starseed family. Yeah, quite a lot.
Does so this is kind of an odd question maybe, but you mentioned light language and you mentioned star seeds. Can you talk
Mhm.
a little bit about that? Because does that apply to everybody that that you come across? What does that mean to you?
It doesn't apply to everyone. It's like, so in my work, I clear a lot of traumas that have happened in other lifetimes,
Hmm.
and because the person has experienced the same or similar trauma in another lifetime, it may be showing up again in this lifetime. So there's a pattern that needs to be broken. And so, for example, if someone is always fighting, let's say, for example, if someone's always fighting, or they're always fighting something, or fighting the government, or fighting their boss, or fighting their loved ones, or some fighting about something, the most obvious answer is, okay, this person has fought a lot of wars in other lifetimes, let's clear that. They may have been a boxer or a wrestler or a mercenary or a gladiator, whatever, right? It's the same thing as a star seed. So a star seed just means that your soul has originated from another planet, not Earth, but it could be Earth-like though. And just like you've had many lifetimes, maybe you've had 3 lifetimes or 5 lifetimes of playing the piano, right? And so a star seed may have had 5 lifetimes being a Lyran star seed, or an Andromedan star seed, or a hybrid star seed. There are so many, this is impossible to know how many races there are. And light language is just the language that star seeds speak. And light language is not to be understood or translated. It's not to be understood mentally. You have to feel the light language. The frequency of light language is much higher than English or Spanish or Italian, or the languages that we have learned. And actually, the languages we have learned, it's there to kind of like dumb us down and keep us disconnected. Because when you start speaking light language, you can literally start buzzing, and you can use light language to heal yourself or others mentally, emotionally, physically, right? So it's just a matter of tuning into your starseed origin or your starseed family. And for me, I have, and everyone does it differently. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. But for me, I'll have an intention in the back of my mind. For example, I can think, okay, what is it that I would like to offer today? Maybe some psychic fatigue, remove psychic fatigue from all the world events. I'll have that in English intention in the back of my mind. And then I just connect to my starseed family. And then I just let the language come out of me, almost like a channeled message.
Yeah, because it makes me think about sound healing and how just tones can be healing beyond words, beyond, yeah, it's like the vocabulary of language is so limited. And I guess that's what I'm hearing you say is it just lets that fall away. And there's so much more capacity for that healing potential to come through. Is there any kind of cognitive understanding about what's coming through with light language, or is it just simply energy beyond that, beyond any kind of translation into meaning?
Some people can understand light language, or they get a gist of it. You know, it's
Mm,
like if I listen to someone who is speaking French or Spanish, even though I don't speak French or Spanish, but if I listen to someone speaking French or Spanish, and if you're really tuned in, you can kind of like get a sense of what they're saying, or the vibe or the energy or the intention. Maybe not word for word, but you kind of go, I think I get a general gist of what this person's saying.
mm.
I could be wrong, but that's what I feel. And other people may go, well, I don't feel the same about Spanish. But well, you might feel the same about Mandarin. You may feel the same about Russian. Everyone's tuned into a different language. So some people can listen to light language and they can just get a sense of like, okay, I get the intention here, or I
Mm.
can feel it. Some people are so sensitive and they're so in tune with light language that when they listen to light language, they start getting words coming up in their minds, about what the language is about. So
Oh,
yeah, everyone's different.
yeah. Everyone is different. And so, huh. I am curious, Gars, who gave you, I know this is a silly question perhaps, but what strikes me about you is you have a freedom to you. You have like ooh, yeah, that's what I would say. There's a freedom about you where, in contrast, I think a lot of people, and I have had this in my own life, is I needing permission to do it your way, to take what resonates, leave the rest. And like what you said, you do, it's a fusion of things, right? And I am curious how, ooh, it's difficult to ask the question without embedding something else in it, which might sound odd, but did you ever need permission to do what you do? Did you ever have that hang up that many people, or that block that a lot of people contend with, that idea that you need permission?
I'm laughing because okay, my parents are from Hong Kong. So I grew up in a Chinese household, and because I was not good at math, my family kind of like gave up on me. They were like, okay, she's a dummy, she's a dunce. And academically at school, I was not, I didn't do well academically, but in the arts, I excelled. In sports, I excelled. but Chinese families, they don't value art. They don't value acting and dancing and sports, and and so I was there were no expectations on me to succeed, let's just say that.
Okay.
So I was kind of like just left to my own, um, to explore. And I also feel like I've always had, I've always felt like I wasn't going to follow anyone's footsteps.
Mm.
Now, it could be that I have a life path number one, and they say life path number one is like you're a leader, you're a pioneer, you go where others don't go. It could be that, but I've always had a feeling that when I was at school, I was like, oh, this stuff is boring. I don't like any of this stuff. There's none of this stuff really interests me. I want to learn things that light me up. I want to learn things that interest me. And at the time when I was growing up, I was born in 75, so raised in the 80s, this stuff was not available. And now that it's available and there's an abundance of it, I'm like, I'm just like binging, like at the buffet, like, oh, give me this and give me that and give me this and give me that. So it's almost like I'm making up for my childhood where I had no access to any of this stuff. But
Oh.
but I also did not want to be an energy healer. That's not what I planned to do. I feel like the universe is. I've spoken about this before, but I feel like the universe kind of like forced me into it.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, and I know you have spoken about all of your background before, and yeah, yes. And so I would like to talk to you about this s- current times,
mhm.
navigating right now, because with all of your background, with all of your experience, certainly there are probably people out there that think you've got it all worked out, and you probably wake up in the morning and, aren't bothered by a lot of things. Maybe people think that about you. I don't know. I mean, if you can bend spoons and, make trees dance with you. I mean, what's some chaos in the world, right? So, can you speak about that a little bit? You because you also said you're very, very sensitive and you feel it all. So, how is it for you like that to have the the ability to work with energy the way you do, but also, be a human on earth right now in these times?
Yeah, it's interesting because just the other day, a client of mine said, "Oh, there's so much shit going on in the world, and it's completely, effed up and chaotic." But because you're a healer, you're probably bulletproof, right? Probably doesn't affect you. And I chuckled because that couldn't be further away from the truth. Actually, I couldn't. Now I know there are people out there who they just don't know what's going on, and that's their choice. And then there are people out there who they have too much going on in their own lives, and they have really intense challenges, and they can't. Their plate is so full, they can't take on much more else. Like they're blinkered. But then there are those who are, as you probably know, spiritually bypass, and they live in their own world and their own bubble, and they've worked hard at leaving all their traumas behind, and they live a very privileged life, and they don't want to get caught up or swept back into the humdrum of the 3D world, because they live in a very privileged way, and like a spiritual bubble almost. And I could live like that. And I was just saying to my partner the other day, I don't like to say the word never, but I'm never going to be that person who doesn't care.
Mm.
That's just not me. I'm just not that person. I care deeply about the cruelty that's going on in the world, especially when they're hurting children. That affects me very much, probably because of my own trauma and what I've experienced myself. So, yes, it's important to. I don't watch the news, I don't read the news, but it's on my social, for you page. So I get it. And it is important to step away. It is important to take breaks. And, but I also need to like double down on the tools that I use for myself, taking the salt baths, meditating every day, moving my body, grounding in nature, planting the soles of my feet on the ground to absorb the earth's electrons, hugging a tree, leaning against a tree if they allow, and eating whole foods, making sure that I get enough sleep. And telekinesis, aerokinesis, this is a form of meditation for me. It helps me focus and it helps me center myself and anchor my energy. And it helps me to come into my body, you know, and it helps to ground me and shut out the noise, the distractions. But yes, I have to double down on my tools to help me stay grounded, but also use, because I am also perimenopausal. So there's
Yeah.
like this repressed rage, decades of repressed rage like coming out of me right now. And it's like, okay, I need to use that and channel that. And if anything, it makes me even more inspired to bring all the light workers out of the closet.
Mm.
Let's flood the social media platforms with more light, more love, more power, more inspiration, you know? And so I use the energy, but yeah, I'm not immune to it, even though I could very much live in my own bubble because my life is good. I live a very privileged life. I live a very blessed and fortunate life. And I could be one of those people who go, well, none of that stuff affects me, so I'm fine. But I'm not that person.
Right. I can relate to what you're saying. Yeah. I every now and again I'll think to myself like, what would it be if I just left my house, like left my computers and I just went and I lived in a tent somewhere, with none of this, and just lived in the woods. Wouldn't that be great, And then I think, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that, you know? It sounds nice, but I think we're here when you were talking about flooding social media and all the light workers coming out and doing that. I love that. I mean, I so resonate with that concept because the time is now. I mean, if not now, when? We've been in this, it's just an awakening. And if we all just go live in tents in the wilderness, I don't know. We've got to come together. We've got to communicate with each other. I feel like, and we have to be seen and heard and all of that.
I think what you and I do, and a lot of us you do, gets to be the new normal for us. Not just those with special interests, but it gets to be a bit more mainstream, um, or enter the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with anything, you're going to get your good, you're going to get your bad, just like you've probably come across spiritual teachers who don't have any integrity, or some spiritual teachers who are toxic or abusive, but you just get that everywhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the more the merrier, and I do really feel that we have decided, we have chosen this timeline for a reason, and we've come to help shift that timeline, or the Great Awakening, to assist in the Great Awakening. And so, even though it feels sometimes it's just too intense and it's too overwhelming, it's too stressful, you just got to roll your sleeves up and dig your heels in, and remind yourself, this is what I chose. I'm here for it. I got to help in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I got to assist. I get to help and I get to assist in my own way, you know?
Right. I love how you chose those words because it is an honor, I think, to be here now, to be on earth in these times. But um, so you mentioned some things that you do: salt baths,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, your practices. Um, and I really appreciate that because it brings a realness to it. I think for all of us, it is time to really focus. Y- you had said the practices are meditative, like
Mm-hmm.
telekinesis and that kind of thing. And one of the things that came to my mind when you were talking about that is, and it brings you into the now moment, doesn't it? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, grounding and in this moment. I found it difficult at times because I want to be informed about what's going on. You know, there's a pull for me to be a good citizen kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and at least know what is happening. But woo, boy, that it's difficult to be informed and then not get swept away.
Yeah, especially if you're really empathic and highly sensitive. There are people, a lot of people, I mean, whether you're spiritual or not, or consider yourself a spiritual person or not, or in the communities or not, there are people out there who are just very dense, energetically, they're very dense. They're what you call, they have a thick skin, right? And it, it things don't really penetrate them the way we are penetrated,
Hmm.
and they can handle having the news on all day, all night, every day, every night in the background. They
Yeah.
can handle seeing dead bodies rolling, down the street, and children, explosions, and they can handle all of that, and you gotta, for me, uh, there's no black or white way of looking at it. I can say, oh, because I'm highly sensitive and I'm really empathic, I can't look at any of this stuff. It's not good for me, right? But then it's like, but I've got a duty to do something about this. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's why I kept getting the message: you need to be more visible. You need to be comfortable, get comfortable with being more visible, because you need to contribute to spreading some lightness in this world. And I don't always feel light. I've said in some other podcasts, I'm not this love and light and, pure, innocent, wholesome person, you know. But I think sometimes, sometimes I can read a lot more than others, and then some days I'm like, I need a complete break from everything,
Mm.
from my thoughts about what's going on in the world, from all the information that's coming in, because everyone is, you could say, siphoning your energy, and you got to also be careful of that. There's a lot of rage baiting, yeah, happening, and everyone wants your attention, everyone wants your energy, everyone wants your opinions. So you got to be really careful that uh, when you feel yourself getting really uptight and stressed and overwhelmed to the point where you feel dysregulated, you got to just unplug. Just unplug, because then you're just feeding into that energy. But you got to do it without spiritually bypassing or intellectually bypassing or being fake positive, because I find a lot of people in the spiritual communities do a lot of fake positivity as well,
Mm.
you know, which
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
Yes. Yeah, I think that that really brings up the topic of protection. A lot of people have that question, you know,
Mm.
about spiritual protection. And, that can look any number of ways. But um, probably, I would guess, some of our audience would say, do you do anything for protection? Do you personally? Or what is your take on that?
I just made a video about protection, actually. There are lots and lots of tools that you can use, whether it be essential oils or crystals or amulets or sigils or energetically, right? Throwing up force fields or convex mirrors. There's so many different tools that you can use, and then there are people who say, I am so protected that I don't need any protection. And if you say that you need protection, then you're speaking into not being protected. And I made a video saying, I think it's amazing if you feel divinely protected and you feel invincible. That's amazing. You get to feel proud of that. You get to feel good about that. However, there are those who have been bullied, abused, raped, attacked physically, sexually, those who live in war zones, those who live in conflict areas, those who are fearing for their lives. They don't feel safe and protected. They don't feel shielded, right? So let's not shame those people for needing a little something something to help them, to help get them through the day or the week or the month, you know.
Yes.
So for me, it's both. I do feel protected because I have said repeatedly to the universe, if you want me to do this kind of work, then you need to protect me. And I do feel protected, but at the same time, I have had a lot of abuse in my childhood. My father was a very violent alcoholic, and I've experienced violence with other people. So I'm not, I don't feel completely invincible, sorry, in the world, you know? So what I do is I say I use words as protection,
Hmm.
right? So I will look in the mirror, I'll take a wooden hairbrush, has to be wooden, not plastic, and I just brush the my head along those meridians in the head, and I'll just say, I am safe, I am protected, I am safe, I am protected, I am shielded, yeah? And just set my intention wherever I go to be taken care of. And I brush my hair every day in the mirror with a wooden brush, and I just say whatever it is that I want to happen that day,
Mm.
whatever it is I want to receive that day, you know? And sometimes it's not about asking for protection, but sometimes it's okay, let's clear all the information that's coming in. Let's clear the overwhelm. Let's delete all the fear and the stress, right? Sometimes it's removing things, not accumulating things. But sometimes I also connect my guides. Sometimes I'll connect with my guides or the universe or my mum who's in spirit, and I'll say, okay, I need you to handle this situation. I need you to protect my son. I need you to, look out for so and so. My friend's son is in uh, Minneapolis right now, you know,
Mm.
and he's not going to carry a weapon. But I gave him a whole bunch of goddesses and deities to call upon. Like
Mm,
if you feel really, because it's very scary out there right now, it's like a war
yes.
zone. And I said to him, if you need to call upon all these goddesses and deities. And some people might go, what's that going to do, calling upon? But for me, it's always worked when I call upon a goddess or a deity. It's always worked for me.
Mm. Isn't that what it's all about, Gars, is finding what works for you and
Yeah.
and the power of intention, right? I mean, isn't that in everything that we've talked about in this conversation? Everything that you do, isn't it rooted in clear intention?
Yes. Telekinesis, intention. Aerokinesis, intention. Pyrokinesis, intention. Meditation, intention. Energy healing, intention. How we show up in the world, intention.
Right. Wow. That's powerful. Um, if people want to learn more about you, Gars, how can they best do that and what you offer and also your books? How can they find all that information?
Yeah, if they would like a private session, which is done remotely online, you can go to ChineseEnergyHealing.com. If you're interested in workshops, you can go to alchemistsartshealing.com. If you want to receive free light language transmissions or healing, like piggyback off the healing videos, you can go to Instagram is at Garz Chan, TikTok is at Garz Chan, or my YouTube channel is Alchemists Arts Healing. I have the long videos of the healing videos that I post there, and you just watch the healing videos and you instruct your body to receive the healing as if I'm working on you, right? Because time space doesn't exist, right?
Oh,
So
yes. Yes. Oh, I
that
get
that
that.
construct doesn't
Hmm.
it's not real. So you just watch the video and go, okay, Gars is working on me. I am receiving this healing for myself. So,
Right. Yeah.
and
Intention.
if you are interested in any of my 3 children's books, I have the Kindness Guru, teaching children how to love themselves, and then we won't have all these problems. That's on Amazon. And then I have Flipper Feet Pete, which is about bullying and consent and about being unique, allowing yourself to be different. That's also available on Amazon. And then I have The Little Healer, which teaches children how to become a healer or harness or stay in touch with their healing abilities. They're all available on Amazon.
Beautiful. I love that because you've already said the young people, your son and that generation. Wow, I'm so hopeful. I'm so hopeful, and I want to thank you again for being here, Gars. Is there one final thing that you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
If you're watching this and there's a part of you that's curious about becoming a healer or you want to be more visible, then please become a healer. Please be more visible because we need all the help we can get right now. So come out the closets and join us. We are waiting for you.
Yes, we are. We so are. Gosh, thank you, Gars. Thank you. So well said. It's
Thank you.
been a joy. Thank you for tuning in. Keep trusting your truth, keep listening to your inner wisdom, and keep following what resonates. To sign up for the newsletter, leave a review, or connect, visit whatresonatspodcast.com. You'll also find everything linked in the show notes.